Thank you for indulging me for a few minutes. First, I want to start by acknowledging that I'm wearing a red blazer in honor of the Payments Canada Summit. And I tried really hard to not repeat what I did a few weeks ago where I wore the exact same jacket that was on my headshot. So I think I've succeeded in at least addressing that. I'm sure some of you are wondering, why would Cadillac Fairview, who is a commercial real estate company, be interested in payments? And the number that I'll share with you is essentially why I'm here today and why I'm going to be telling you a bit of a storyline in terms of how payments matter and why I'm on a mission to remove friction from the retail experience. We run about $10 billion worth of transactions through our various payment methods across all of our properties. We have 19 shopping centers and another 48 office buildings across the country. And it's just the beginning of a journey that we're on to try and monetize those assets and turn those physical assets into a more stronger digital experience. But $10 billion is a lot of payments, and I thank both the incumbents and the new players that are participating in that payments ecosystem because it is the lifeblood of our industry, and it certainly helps us drive a lot of experiences in the mall. However, not all malls are created equal. This is a picture of a mall that's dying in the US. It's clearly dead. And as you can see, a lot of things have gone wrong in this industry. Now, a bit of context. In the US, they have more malls per capita than anywhere in the world and are about twice the volume that we are in Canada. So as much as the problem isn't as systemic in Canada, we still have a number of factors that are eating away and chipping away at this experience. In particular, in Canada, as well as other industries or other countries, we see payments at the end of a transaction, and it's often something that can be uncomfortable, frustrating at times, and difficult for the customer to understand why they have so many different experiences across one mall. But who we can thank for some of this experience is, in fact, e-commerce. E-commerce is not what's killing the mall or the shopping experience in physical retail, but e-commerce has changed the expectation of the retail customer in terms of what to expect from any business. And our business of real estate and malls and shopping is no different. But if you simply looked at the headlines and focused on the messages that you hear and you read, you don't necessarily see all of the great things that are happening with some of the Canadian retailers and the Canadian brands. So I wanted to share with you a personal experience that I've had with Roots. Roots has started to rebrand itself as an omni-channel retailer that is driving a global expansion over the next few years. They've recently announced renovating their stores, adding new stores both in Canada and globally, and they've embedded the store as part of an overall digital experience and an omni-channel experience. What you see here is an integration of digital into a store experience. My personal experience last Christmas was I was going to Portugal to visit with our new niece, and she was wonderful, and I needed to get her a little onesie. And I was doing this on my way to the airport, of course. And so I went to the Roots store, and I picked up a onesie. It was $20. And in the process of looking at the onesie, I was asked if I knew about the VIP program, and had I signed up for the program online. I said no. And the cashier said, no problem, I'll sign you up right now. In signing me up, somehow that information got merged with other bits of data, no doubt. And they said, oh, you're a VIP. I said, oh, thank you. That's good to know. What does that mean? That means I'll give you 25% off anything in the store. I said, fantastic. How about that leather bag? How about that sweater? How about that cabin set of track pants? All I can tell you is everybody got Roots for Christmas. And many of those products were delivered to my home because, as I said, I was going to the airport. I ended up spending $1,100 for that onesie. So, that being said, the average retail basket size does go up significantly when you merge digital with physical. And that's really the mission that we're on. The reason I'm also telling you this story is this is about the retail product and the experience and technology all merged into one. I only talked about paying for this at the end, but it was that journey that got me there that was actually the most important. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Amazon. No presentation on retail can be done without talking about Amazon. They certainly are very strong. They're a very strong player in the US. They're 50% of the e-commerce sales. but I'm pretty sure most of us aren't used to seeing a chart where Amazon only represents 1%. But they only represent 1% of global retail sales. In Canada, 92% of commerce for retail is still done in a physical, offline store with a human interaction. What Amazon has done, however, is they've introduced personalized recommendations, seamless payment. They keep your credit card on file. They directly deliver to you at the time that's most convenient. They've essentially created friction in retail by removing friction from retail. And so it got us thinking at Cadillac Fairview, well, what if there was an Amazon for bricks and mortar? Can there be such a thing? So we started looking around us, and we started piecing together how one could do that and what exists out there. And I can tell you that some of this does exist. So imagine if you had an Amazon or bricks and mortar at a place like Toronto Eaton Centre. Toronto Eaton Centre is an epic icon in terms of shopping and retail. It's the busiest mall in North America. We get over 54 million visitors a year. We get more visitors than Disney World. So we're bigger than most airports, which means we have to handle everything from security to parking to crowd control. Yes, retail. Yes, the experience. Yes, it would be great if it was personalized. But what I can tell you is in terms of the person who's shopping at the Eaton Centre right now, 140,000 people are going through there today alone, it's up to them. They walk, they see, they experience, they touch and feel, they might have a snack, they might meet with friends, but those are all little points of friction throughout their day. What are we doing as a mall operator to help remove that friction? Wouldn't it be great if we could help them find products and help brands connect with that customer and treat this as a sandbox for innovation? So if I tell you about some of the experiences that we're most excited about in this space, first I'll start with Pinterest. If you remember, I talked about Amazon delivering personalized recommendations. For those of you who use Pinterest, it is essentially a discovery engine that helps you search visually. This is something that customers have gotten used to. So now everywhere they go, they want to use images or videos to try and find a product. This puts the customer at the center of everything. You can use pins and boards to be inspired. You can share boards, and you can be inspired by what other people are doing. There's no question that Pinterest is already starting that first part of the experience. Are they fully end-to-end? Let me tell you that there's room to play here in terms of being able to position products for that customer. Starbucks is another one. I know we've all had our own personal Starbucks experience, or most of us. And for those of us who use Starbucks, I'll tell you two stories. The first relates to the app, the vicious, evil app that they've created, which essentially I have realized how bad it is for me. So I'll tell you my story. I realized a few months back that I was just having too much coffee. And the joke is, by 3 p.m., I realized I haven't had anything that's not dark and caffeinated, and that's bad. It's bad for me. It's just bad. It's bad. So I started looking at how much I was spending. I was like, you know what? Let me just disable the app. I'll go back to the old school method of waiting in line, and I'll pay as I go, and I'll do that and see how that goes. I lasted 3 days. 3 days before I reinstalled the app and made that efficiency. So they've embedded the credit card experience in the flow. So a few months back, in September of last year, we had announced that in partnership with Teachers Pension, we invested $200 million in the Alibaba New Retail Fund. So I went to go visit with the Alibaba team, and I went to spend time with the Investor Day conference, and en route, a colleague of mine and I, en route from Shanghai to Hangzhou, we stopped at a Starbucks to have a coffee. All I can tell you is I tried that Starbucks app. I tried every credit card I had. He tried every credit card he had, and debit cards, Apple Pay. Nothing worked. It got to the point where the cashier said, here, please, just, because she didn't speak English, so she's like, just go. And the lineup was, because I didn't have WeChat Pay and I didn't have Alipay. Again, another inspiration. As I mentioned, we were there to visit with Alibaba, so I did have a chance to go to the Alibaba Hema store. This store has embedded the omni-channel experience in your hand. You can go and deliver the product, you can order it, you can scan it, it immediately comes out of the retail inventory online. And then you can choose to walk out. As we were hearing earlier today, one of the presenters, Alvin, on our team was talking about how some global experiences are now allowing you to take the product right out of the store. You can have it delivered to your house, or you can have a buyer come behind you, a broker, and they actually pick up the items and then deliver it to you at the end of the store when you leave. These are, again, inspirations for us in terms of how one could work here. So in February, we did launch Ravel. Ravel is a digital platform that is the beginning of us being able to take all these things together. And as much as it sounds aspirational, I do believe we can provide services to our retailers that embed payments and experience in a full end-to-end discovery to delivery model, and that's what we're building. It came out of the idea that not all retailers have the same level of expertise as roots or ability to invest, but we are in a unique position that we have some funding and we can dedicate ourselves to this. And I'd like to say we're actually, I believe, the first real estate company in Canada who's focused on this so much that we've dedicated a payments practice and have funded dedicated resources to actually work on payments on our team. And this is just the beginning of the journey. What we're trying to do here over time is essentially establish an ecosystem that allows the customer to be at the center, help both the shopper and the retailer find each other and transact more holistically. The examples I gave you earlier are inspiration for how we're going to do this. There's no reason why digital and physical can't coexist. As I said, 92% of commerce for retail is still done in a physical setting. It's our job to make it better and enrich it so that the customer can actually enjoy that experience. We have a few concepts that are up and running, which I'd like to share with you today because I think case studies matter in this type of environment. And so I'm going to talk you through some of these examples. The first is the ability for a customer to interact with digital advertising. We've worked with a company, SoundPace, to actually deliver audible sound that comes through a speaker and allows the customer to interact and do offers in real time. We've had about 14% conversion during the pilot, and we're up to 12 retailers that are using this at a store level in Sherway Gardens, and it's working. This is the first step towards the customer interacting directly with the retailers on a platform that allows them to experience this in real time. The second is payments. I mentioned Alibaba earlier. Our Alipay partnership this February led to record-breaking transactions and results. And why is that? Because we tied the gift card experience with the customer proposition, with the digital experience that they're used to. We leveraged the Alipay platform. We didn't create some other platform to then have them stitch it together. We embraced the Alipay experience, and as you can see, the results speak for themselves in terms of year-over-year growth. And finally, Lyft. Lyft is probably the coolest thing that I've seen CF do in this space yet on the digital side. What you're seeing on the wheel is actually active in production. We partnered with Lyft and we built this over a 4-week period. We're probably the first and only company who's embedded ourselves in the app. This is not our app, this is Lyft's app. But what we're really doing is collecting information on aggregate for the customer, what store they're going to. Why do you think that matters? As I mentioned earlier, payments is at the end of the transaction. But now we know that the customer is going to Aldo before Aldo knows that the customer is going to Aldo. Once I start working with Lyft, why do I really want to start working with Lyft? They have the credit card, they have the information, they know where the customer lives, which means I can put a parcel in the car and I can deliver it and I can pay for the Lyft if they're a VIP, and I can create a whole roadmap, which we are creating around this. Without even telling anybody, 10% of riders are self-selecting this wheel and using it today. We have over 50,000 rides. The scale that CF brings to Ravel is immense, and that is something that we're leveraging in terms of what we're doing. So this is just the beginning. I went to San Francisco to meet with the Chief Client Officer of Lyft to talk about the partnership, and I can tell you that they were pleasantly surprised and think that what we're doing is a global standard that will be a standard in the future for ride sharing. So in closing, in addition to the many incumbents that already support our business, Toronto Eaton Centre alone, for example, we have 30 different payment terminal types. One could argue that's too many, and I will say that that is too many from a customer perspective. But the transactions work, it's safe, it's sound, and it's secure. But as we invest in our digital platforms of the future, we're going to be looking for new brands and new payments expertise that will allow us to be more client-centered and allow the customer to choose when it's best to interact with the brand. Brands want it. I've just got some examples here of companies already working with us, and others are coming. It's just a question of how we bring that together. So thank you very much for your time, and I just wanted, in closing, to let you know that we are open for business. This digital platform is something we're investing in on a multi-year basis. You see an email here on how to get a hold of us. I just, like all my children, I love all my children, but there's certain emails that I get that actually go to the top of the list. Those ones are ones that help us personalize, help us deliver something that's unique in the marketplace, and yes, come with revenue sharing models. Thank you very much.